Alright, I want to talk about broken promises for a minute here. I'm going to do this with the light on. But there are other videos I wanted to record, but I think that I'm not quite there yet, so. Anywho, broken promises. This is the name of the video. And I think that, this goes back to the social construct type shit. But I think it's important to say, y'all can go ahead and get a good look at that drywall. Yeah, that looks like shit, doesn't it? Anyway, one day I'll fix it. What we have to remember is that there was a time when, the social construct of what we were promised, of what, this society is that if you work hard, you can retire and you can, live a good life, in retirement. If you work hard. But that is gone. That social construct is dead. And I think instead, what they did was replace it with, I think there was a time when people used to think, wow, I'm going to become a movie star, or I'm going to become a singer or a rapper. And of course, that still exists. That sort of idea. But obviously, the more realistic one is become a guy like Vosh. Or become a guy like, I don't know, Ninja. Or even Hassan Piker. And spend like 8 or not, well, for Hassan Piker, spend like 8 or 9 hours, but spend 4 or 5 hours like Vosh does. Spouting his political opinions, this and that. Or making some long form commentary video, some long form video, giving commentary over something or whatever, right? And that's what people think. They become like H-Bomber guy or become like whoever, I'm just looking at that. Holy shit, that looks like shit. Okay, one of these days. Anyway. And, that is a sad thing, as many people have said, and I take it with a grain of salt, but I think that there is probably a lot of truth to it, is that Americans wanted to become streamers, like on Twitch and shit, and not become astronauts or anything else because they saw being an astronaut was out of their league, out of their control. And I think there is a lot of truth to that. I think, and I say this to a point with a lot of cope, but a lot of jobs you're just not going to reach today. Because people are, like I say, people are much more picky about who they hire. And you can go ahead and say, oh, there's a labor crisis, this and that. The reality is that, yeah, that is true. And, you hear this cope about, oh, the workers are fighting back. No, that's not true. People are just taking bullshit jobs instead. They're taking, jobs that they can halfway live or something like that. And then they're doing Uber and shit like that, right? The reality is that, these promises are broken. This is why people, I think, are divorcing more as well. It all comes back around in a circle. Now the difference is I don't think that, changing systems between capitalism or socialism is going to magically change it. I don't. I don't live in that fantasy. And this is something that's international. This isn't something that's just the United States. I think other countries have more, and I'm gonna actually use the quotes here, but robust system. But the reality is the U.S. just cannot cope. It cannot create. I was trying to think of the word, but basically, it cannot sustain itself anymore. So we see a system that is just barely hanging on. It is. People can go ahead and say the strength and the robustness of the United States, or blame the supply chain, or whatever fuck shit you want to blame. But the thing is that this system is old and tired. Whether you want to look at the electrical grid, whether you want to look at, water treatment, whether you want to look at the housing market, whatever it is that the system is old and tired. Socialism isn't going to change that necessarily. And like I said, maybe, I hope I don't fall into the trap of, balkanization or accelerationism. I'm going to try to back away from that. But I will say is that there are real problems out there. Now we see them. You know, I mean, I spent, uh, I just spent all this time getting a fucking P-TAC changed out. If you've never done it, it's just, it sucks when you're by yourself. It's not like, you know, luckily you're not trying to deal with a split system where you gotta, you know, get you know, a big old dolly to load a, you know, condenser on with a split system. But P-TAC, you know, loading up the P-TAC by yourself is still not fun. So hopefully it works tomorrow. Hopefully that guy didn't complain. But I just realized how broken this system is, you know. And, you know, just for the fact that I was so manipulated by the fact that if I got $20 an hour, instead of getting paid the, fuck it, I'll just tell you the truth, $12.50 an hour. Yes, I'm a bad negotiator. I can cope about it. It's all right. But I don't care. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I don't really want to hide and do all that. I don't have much in me. But anyway, I'll finish up with this, is that I was so manipulated by thinking that $20 an hour is going to magically make my life better. And the reality is it probably wouldn't have. It would have sucked, because that job was further away than the current job I have. Not to say I love the current job. I don't, but... You know, and, you know, that isn't anything new. I mean, maybe, but there's the promise of, you know, doing something else for a lot of money, but you have to travel further. You know, and that's what they do. It kind of goes back to, you know, the fake sort of thing when people were talking about Tucker Carlson, right? Because Tucker Carlson, you know, challenged Ben Shapiro when Ben Shapiro said, you know, all your promise is the most exciting ride of your life and everything. And Tucker Carlson, of course, gave lip service to the idea of like, yeah, bro, it's going to all be better. And not necessarily. So anyway, that's all I got. See you later. Goodbye.